On this week's UBC From Here, studying the effects of cannabis on PTSD.
Previously, it was incredibly difficult to access cannabis for research purposes, and even if you could access it, the quality and variety of cannabis was very limited. So it's a very exciting time for us. We finally have the raw materials we need to do some of the essential human research.
Students vote for more library.
Our students have recently committed themselves to put significant funding forward to help build the library that they want, that will allow themselves and future generations to have the kind of library that they truly deserve, the kind of library that will match UBC's aspirations for their learning experience.
Recruiting for a new education stream.
Students can now go into their STEP program, get their Bachelor of Education as well as their teaching certificate to be able to teach secondary physical education.
And clowning around.
Clown is the poet of the ridiculous, which is a very grand statement to say that we revel in our own stupidity.
One thing that I think people forget about cannabis and people is how long our history is. There's evidence of cannabis being used for over 5,000 years. Sometime around the 30s and 40s, therapeutic use of cannabis faded with what is generally now recognized as wrong-headed hysteria and propaganda that stigmatized the plant.
Because of the legal status of cannabis, it's been very difficult to conduct research on the therapeutic benefits of cannabis. The Canadian and US governments overwhelmingly spent money examining the potential harms of cannabis rather than studying the potential therapeutic benefits.
Really, within the past year or so, we've seen the development of licensed producers of cannabis. Previously, it was incredibly difficult to access cannabis for research purposes, and even if you could access it, the quality and variety of cannabis was very limited. So it's a very exciting time for us. We finally have the raw materials we need to do some of the essential human research to find out how cannabis works for a variety of conditions.
PTSD and cannabis study is probably one of the first of its kind in the world. It's the first randomized controlled trial for whole plant cannabis in the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder. The study will recruit 40 participants looking at combat veterans, first responders, victims of violent crime. We will bring them into the lab, show them how to use the equipment that we will be providing them. There are 4 different strains that we are testing based on content of the cannabinoids in them and a placebo control as well.
As it stands, the existing treatments for PTSD are insufficient for a considerable number of people who suffer. So what we're hoping is that we can add to the therapeutic options for treating this debilitating disorder, and that perhaps cannabis will be one of them, and if we find that it's effective.
This really is groundbreaking for using medical cannabis for the treatment of mental health disorders.
Tilray is a federally authorized medical cannabis production and distribution and research organization. We're really taking the lead in opening up clinical research into therapeutic applications for cannabis. As a BC-based company, Tilray is interested in forging relationships with local post-secondary academic institutions, and UBC is the first one that we're happy to announce in terms of a research relationship. We're really excited to be sharing this opportunity and this challenge with UBC.
It's certainly unfortunate that we know so little about the therapeutic potential of cannabis. The scientific community is really hungry for results for a bunch of different potential applications. So I think there's a lot of stuff to be doing, and as a scientist, it's an incredibly exciting area to be in. Even some very basic questions remain unanswered.
We know visionary people change our world for the better, and UBC's Okanagan campus here began as a vision cast by the men and women of this region who believed in the power of a distinctive UBC learning community for the interior of British Columbia, which would provide transformative learning not only for students from this region, but for students from around the world. Our students have recently committed themselves to put significant funding forward to help build the library that they want, that will allow themselves and future generations to have the kind of library that they truly deserve, the kind of library that will match UBC's aspirations for their learning experience.
There's thousands of people that visit the library every day. You walk in and you never see an empty space. So it's really huge with this expansion project that you'll be able to facilitate more students coming in and finding seats and having access to resources like the librarians and the books and the computers, because right now there are students who don't come because they can't fit.
A lot of people actually avoid coming to the library, and not because they don't use the resources, but simply because there's just not enough room for all of us. It almost seems like we're competing for that space. I'm in my 4th year of university, so I'm almost done my time here, and by the time that library is completed, I'm not going to be studying here any longer, but I do know that it will help future students.
I come here every single day. I try and find a place to study. I also meet up with my friends. It's a great place. I think that the future students will all get a better environment to study in. They get more room, they get more places to interact with their peers, socialize, communicate with everybody.
I think that our students need more library because they are fantastic students with amazing potential. And those students had the foresight to see that they needed a first-rate library to be successful. They thought hard about it, they took the steps that they needed to make that happen. They recognized that it was an opportunity for them to leave their mark for the future. I think that's what that yes vote means. And I will be so excited to see that vision realized.
The library expansion is going to be a pretty exciting opportunity for our campus. I think it's going to bring students together all under one roof to share in their learning experiences. As students, it's pretty incredible that we have been empowered to make this decision happen and leave a lasting legacy for the students of the future.
Ever since I was in high school, I saw how much fun the teachers had every day at work, and I realized, well, hey, wouldn't it be nice to be able to get to do this for a living? I had such a positive experience with my physical education teachers, so basically right out of high school I was like, well, if I could have that same impact on a kid just like me, then I'd be more than blessed to be able to do that every day.
Our new program is the STEP program, which has been here at UBC, but what we are adding is a physical education option. So students can now go into their STEP program, get their Bachelor of Education as well as their teaching certificate to be able to teach secondary physical education.
This program is something that has been in the works for the past few years, working alongside with Human Kinetics, developing a very unique program for secondary school physical education.
The students have been really excited. We went into some of our Human Kinetics classes and asked them how many of you would be interested in taking this program. And right from first all the way up to 4th year, we had students very excited about it. It gives them another option of something that they can do with their Human Kinetics degree.
This new teaching program that's coming up through UBCO is really exciting because I always thought I was going to have to leave and pursue my teaching career elsewhere, but now they're offering us a chance to do an 11-month program up here where I live now and where I'm going to school now, and be able to be certified and ready to go as a teacher.
We have an obesity and inactive crisis across the nation, so our program focuses on that healthy living aspect, not just traditional games and sporting activities that have been seen in past physical education, teacher education programs.
Our students here have a little bit of a different background than the traditional physical education background where they're in there and they're taking skills in different sports and team sports and things like that. And our students are coming up through a program that is teaching them about anatomy and physiology and health and nutrition. Those are the things, that's the educational background that's going to help them lead a healthy life. So our students are getting that background so then they can pass that on at the secondary level.
It's been an interesting and exciting journey working alongside Human Kinetics and faculty members there to develop a sound program for our future teachers.
Clown is the poet of the ridiculous, which is a very grand statement to say that we revel in our own stupidity. We've harnessed our own inner idiots and found a way for them to come up onto the stage and rampage in the imagination of our audience.
When I tell people that I'm a professional clown, they do see me making balloon animals and juggling, and then you try and explain, no, I do theater clowning, like I do clowning for adult audiences and kids, and their eyes cross because they don't really get it.
Ultimately, I came here to do this, to perform this show, and through our negotiations, they wanted to bring more to the students than just the show, just the residency, because even with a residency, although we're here, we're working with some students, we tend to be a little bit insular in terms of how we're doing. We're excited to perform this show, because of course I'm giving the students that challenge every day, and now they're going to be sitting there with their arms crossed going, okay, let's see, Buster, if you've got it.
I'll be working with the students a little more closely the closer we get to the production, because then they'll start to be involved. We're going to have students backstage, students in the booth. The faculty is all incredibly helpful, and they want to help, and they're having a good time. So it's making the process very easy and relaxed, which is very nice.
The show takes place on 3 levels. The first level, and this is the level that I want the audience to see most, is of course about these 2 idiot clowns who were thrown off a boat into the middle of the ocean and marooned on a desert island that gives them magical powers with which they go mad. Another level, and this is one for us, is we took the structure of our own psychosis, living on tour for so long. We've embedded our experience on top of this ridiculous situation. And then what I think the show speaks to is our having to deal with the consequences of our decisions in life that this show really does speak to in a very absurd, surreal, very comical way.